Hello everyone and welcome. So if you're gearing up for the PMBOK 8th edition version of the PMP exam, you already know that earned value management, or EVM, is a wildly critical topic. You can definitely expect at least 3 or 4 questions on this in your exam, if not more. But let's be totally honest for a second. When it comes to actually learning these EVM formulas, the sheer panic and overwhelm that PMP aspirants feel is very, very real. It's like staring into a massive sea of equations, and it's so easy to get completely lost wondering which ones you actually need to remember and apply, right?
Well, you can take a deep breath, because this explainer is your ultimate tool to cut right through that noise. Today, we're distilling EVM down to only the absolute bare minimum equations you need to solve those tricky scenario-based questions. We're stripping away all the fluff to completely take the stress off your mind. Now, to keep us hyper-focused, we won't be covering general EVM theory today. If you need a deep dive into the basics, or you're looking for full 35 PDU trainings and mock exam simulators, definitely check out my Udemy courses linked below. But for right now, give this explainer a like, grab a pen and paper, and let's conquer this math.
Here is our game plan for today. First, the core 4 formulas. Second, interpreting the math. Third, cracking EAC scenarios. Fourth, variance at completion. Fifth, the TCPI plot twist. And finally, number 6, the exam brain dump.
Okay, let's jump right into section 1, the core 4 formulas, building your baseline. Think of these first equations as your foundational pillars. Literally everything in earned value management builds upon these 4 basic formulas, so we're going to master them right now with some rapid-fire energy. First up is cost variance, or CV. The formula is simply earned value minus actual cost. It's actually incredibly intuitive when you break it down. Cost variance is just what you've earned on the project minus what you actually spent out of pocket to get there. Notice that earned value is the star of the show here. It always comes first in these core EVM equations.
Let's keep that momentum going with our second formula, schedule variance, or SV. This one is your earned value minus your planned value. So instead of looking at the money you spent, we're looking at time and progress. It's simply what you've actually accomplished minus what you originally planned to achieve by this exact point in time.
Now, things get a little interesting as we shift from subtraction to division for the Cost Performance Index, or CPI. Instead of giving us a raw dollar amount like a variance does, dividing earned value by actual cost gives us a really clear ratio of our cost efficiency. Basically, it tells us exactly how much bang we're getting for our buck.
Rounding out the core 4 is the Schedule Performance Index, or SPI. Following that exact same logic we just used, we divide earned value by planned value. This is your definitive ratio for schedule efficiency. If you know these 4 baselines by heart, you are already well on your way to absolutely dominating the math section of the exam.
Moving on to section 2, interpreting the math. The higher is better rule.
Memorizing the formula is honestly only half the battle. Knowing what the result actually tells you about your project's health is where the points are scored. So here is the golden rule of PMP math that will completely save you on exam day. For your variances, that's cost and schedule variance, any number greater than 0 is a good thing. It means your earned value is greater than your cost or plans, putting you under budget or ahead of schedule. Conversely, if it's less than 0, you're over budget or behind schedule. Now, for your indices, CPI and SPI, because they are ratios, the magic number is 1. Anything greater than 1 is fantastic. Anchor this pattern in your mind right now. Whether it's a variance above 0 or an index above 1, remember that higher is always, always better.
All right, section 3, cracking EAC scenarios, the boss level.
Estimate at completion, or EAC, formulas are notoriously the most complex part of the PMP exam. But listen, we're going to defeat this boss right now by tying these 4 seemingly terrifying formulas directly to specific scenario cues the exam is going to feed you. The crucial thing is knowing exactly when to apply which variant. If the exam scenario tells you that performance will continue as is at the current CPI, you simply take your original budget at completion and divide it by the CPI. What if the scenario says a past cost overrun was a fluke or a one-off and things are going to self-correct? Then you take your actual costs and just add the remaining planned budget, which is BAC minus EV. Now this next one is the heavy hitter. If the prompt explicitly mentions that both cost and schedule efficiency will affect the project moving forward, you take actual cost, add that remaining budget, but you divide it by CPI multiplied by SPI. Finally, if the question tells you the previous estimate is null and void and a totally new estimate was done, it's just actual cost plus the new estimate to complete, or ETC. Connect these exact keywords to these formulas, and I promise you will never get an EAC question wrong.
Section 4, variance at completion. Did you hit the budget?
After defeating the EAC boss, variance at completion, or VAC, is going to feel like a total walk in the park. It answers one very simple question. At the end of the day, did you hit the budget? Variance at completion is just your original budget at completion, your BAC, minus your estimate at completion, your EAC. Basically, it compares your original dream budget to your new realistic estimate. And just like our golden rule from earlier, greater than 0 is a wonderful thing. It means you've finished under budget. Less than 0 means you're in the red. Pretty simple, right?
Let's look at Section 5. The TCPI plot twist. Breaking the rules.
Just when you thought you had all the rules totally figured out, we hit the ultimate curveball the exam will throw at you. Everything you just learned about higher is better is about to get completely inverted. Let's frame it with a scenario. You're working on your project, things are going off the rails, and management realizes the original budget is completely impossible. So, what if your budget is revised? We simply can't rely on our original baseline math anymore to figure out how hard we need to work.
Here is exactly how the Two Complete Performance Index, or TCPI, handles that situation. The numerator for both situations is your remaining work, your total budget, BAC, minus the value you've already earned, EV. But the denominator is your remaining funds, and that's where the shift happens. If you are still trying to hit your original budget, you divide by BAC minus your actual cost. However, if that original budget is dead and gone and you have an approved revised budget, you swap the BAC in the denominator for your new estimate at completion, your EAC.
Now here is the massive exception to the golden rule that you absolutely must sear into your memory right now. For TCPI, higher is bad. Remember earlier when we said a CPI over 1 is great? Well, a TCPI over 1 means your team has to work harder and more efficiently than ever before just to hit the target. It makes your goal highly unrealistic.
Let's look at a harsh reality check to see how this works in practice. Imagine your project's historical CPI is 0.8. This means for every single dollar spent, you've only been earning 80 cents of value. You're losing money. But you calculate your TCPI and it comes out to 1.15. This means that from today onward, you desperately need to earn $1.15 in value for every single dollar spent, just to catch up. You've been operating at a loss, and now suddenly you need to be wildly profitable.
So let's summarize this TCPI logic so it sticks. If your TCPI is greater than 1, your target is unrealistic. You need far more efficiency than you currently have. If it equals 1, you just maintain your exact current pace. If it's less than 1, that's actually amazing. It means you have good financial headroom and the goal is easily achievable. Most importantly, if your required future efficiency, your TCPI, is higher than your historical efficiency, your CPI, your project is in a very tricky, bad situation with incredibly small financial headroom. Finally, Section 6, the exam brain dump. Write this down immediately. The very second you sit down for your PMP exam and your time starts, this is the unified theory of EVM that you need to write down immediately on your scratch paper or digital whiteboard. Let's rapidly review the entire puzzle we've just built. First, jot down your core 4: cost variance, schedule variance, CPI, and SPI. Remember the golden rule: greater than 0 or greater than 1 is good. Then, write out your 4 EAC boss-level scenarios. Continues as is, the one-off fluke, both indices affecting the project and the new estimate. Don't forget your quick variance at completion formula to check your final budget status. And finally, jot down your 2 TCPI formulas, one for the original budget, one for the revised budget with a massive star next to it, reminding you that for TCPI, higher is bad. Do you see how perfectly these patterns link together for test-taking dominance?
And that brings us to the end. Earned value management formulas really don't have to be a nightmare of endless memorization. By focusing strictly on these essential equations and understanding exactly what the numbers are telling you, you take the guesswork completely out of the equation. So, I leave you with this. Are you ready to calculate your way to a PMP pass? Take these formulas, practice applying them to scenario questions, and walk into that exam room with total confidence. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and happy studying!